This week's episode is sponsored by the Breakthrough to Excellence book. This book will help guide the reader through overcoming self-doubt and fear and acquiring professional prosperity. In this book, it takes a deep dive with research, science, and real-life stories of women who courageously push past the fear to conquer their goals. You can find out more at www.breakthroughtoexcellence.com. Welcome to the Breakthrough to Excellence podcast. I'm Jasmin Haley, healthcare provider turned educator, entrepreneur, and startup strategist. Not too long ago, I was burnt out, overwhelmed, depressed, and full of fear from a toxic work environment. I created my business out of necessity to create a legacy I can be proud of today. It helps me transform the lives of women every single day to pursue their dreams and entrepreneurial goals. I created this podcast to share the empowering stories of entrepreneurial women, help you break through self-doubt to your greatness, and share business strategies to help you create a thriving and profitable business. If you are an emerging entrepreneur or business owner that wants to create the mindset needed to escape burnout, reclaim your personal power, and pursue your entrepreneurial dreams, this podcast is for you. Stay tuned and listen in. Welcome to the Breakthrough to Excellence podcast. I am your host, Jasmin Haley, and for this episode, we are interviewing Adrienne Johnson. She is a professional course writer who helps entrepreneurs create good courses. Connect with her at getyoureffingcoursdone.com /group and adriennejohnson.co. Man, I'm sorry. I was supposed to keep that totally sounding like I'm on my Oprah-ish today, right? But that is so genius.
Thank you.
Anyway, listeners, we will put it in the show notes. Don't you worry about that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, that's so great. So I've been fangirling over you for some time. You probably don't even realize, obviously. No. I am introverted, so I'm not going to go hey, you want to get to know each other? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to watch you. So I've been watching you, and I've just been hearing the reviews from people that have worked with you, and I was like, I have to have her on the show. And so I know that I'm in your Facebook group. I've watched some of your presentation. So I already know the listeners are in for an amazing treat today.
Thank you so much. Listen, I love what I do and I'm just happy to share it,
Yes, absolutely. All right. Now, we always get into your entrepreneurial journey. I love to hear why you've selected your niche, why you have decided to go into entrepreneurship. What has led you to what you're doing today?
Totally. Well, there's a short answer and a long answer. So I'll go with the short one today, which was that I have a background in English writing. So I have an English writing degree from DePaul University, small town outside of Indianapolis. And, I'd always been interested in education and teaching and everything like that. I had some really, really great teachers and educators in my life. And as I left college, I started out in insurance.
What?
It was it's completely not related. Insurance, banking, that type of thing. And it just was whoa, what am I doing? So long story short, very long story short, I ended up purchasing, with the help of my mom, Rachel's Multiply course in 2017. And at that point, I realized that I was more interested in how to create a course than creating my own course. And I, was looking into ways to do that as a profession. And so I ended up getting, kind of rounding about instructional design and technical writing. And then ultimately I landed at my job here at Salesforce earlier this year, where I am a learning design writer. So I write courses and I also edit courses for salespeople at Salesforce. So based on my background and everything and my professional experience, I decided that I wanted to bring, better courses to entrepreneurs. I know entrepreneurs are passionate about courses. I think we've all experienced some good courses and some not so good courses. And I really want to help people create good courses in ways that aren't overwhelming. So, that's literally the short version. And I know that sounds long, but
No,
that's
it's not.
basically
It's
how I
perfect.
got started.
It's perfect.
Thank you.
Seriously. There's a couple of nuggets that I heard in there, but one, I love the fact that you kind of expanded already a talent that you already had because you were in English writing. And I love like that in your journey, you're pretty much doing it Adrienne's way.
Yeah. That's a really great way of saying it. Yeah, Adrienne's way.
and that's the way it should be, right? Like
Totally.
we shouldn't be asking for anyone's permission. We should be, exploring what's out there. And then what I also really, really, really like is the fact that you are an entrepreneur, but you're not an entrepreneur right now that's saying everyone must quit your job.
No.
Like, we do have bills to pay, right?
Listen.
But okay, so like I feel that it's in alignment with my philosophy. Whenever I'm working with a client, I don't care if you want to stay at your 9 to 5 or you want to quit your 9 to 5, just make your business profitable and make it meaningful.
Totally. 100%. And people, I think, jobs get a bad rep because I think a lot of people are in jobs that they don't enjoy, and I'm grateful to be, at a company I enjoy and a job that I enjoy. So I'm, literally, as grateful as I can be, about the situation, and I don't take it lightly. And business is hard. And in order to stay profitable, you got to keep making money and you got to keep your expenses low. You be able to handle all of those things. It's a whole thing. So having my job just allows me to kind of take risks in my business that I probably wouldn't otherwise take. So I kind of appreciate having that flexibility.
Yes, absolutely. And there, even when I was growing my brand, I've been in business for 4.5 years, but I just did a pivot this year. Even when I was growing mine, I would take part-time jobs. I've taken a full-time job if I needed to. I didn't have any shame in my game. No,
Totally.
I utilized whatever I could because, one of the things that we have to understand, whether you are in business, you're just starting, you're aspiring, or whether you've been in business for a couple of years, we have to get rid of this ego that we all have and understand that it takes time. It takes patience, it takes a measure of faith in your own God-given talents and abilities to keep pressing forward, but understand that, to build something meaningful that's actually going to create a legacy for you and make an impact doesn't happen overnight. And it's done with integrity and with your values and your strengths and all of that jazz.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's why I said this is the short version of the long story.
Yeah.
At the time when I purchased that course from Rachel, I was working a call center job. I hated everything. I hated other people. I hated working at that job. There was a lot of stuff that I left out of that short version that just seemed like detours from where I ultimately wanted to go. And just for brevity's sake, I didn't include that, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there. It wasn't a straight shot from me getting an English degree to working at Salesforce. I mean, I graduated from college 9 years ago now. So, there's a lot that went into that. So I don't ever want to, try to tell people I was like, oh, I just, fell into this.
None of us do, though.
Right. None of us do. It's not that easy.
There's a discovery phase for all of us. I started off as a clinician, as a dental hygienist. Then I went into public health, and then I went went back to private practice, and then I went into education and academia and worked that for full time. Then I left that, started my business, became an educational consultant for a university, and all of that, all of those experiences were putting tools in my toolbox and helping me gain clarity on the next step.
Yes.
You gotta take action, right?
Right. And in the moment, I had visions about, oh, I'll be a virtual assistant and work from home, which I was a virtual assistant for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be, making all this money working from home, and I'll be able to, do all this. None of that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had dreams, and I think the dreams I had like spurred me on to do different things. But, ultimately where I landed is where I wanted to go. I just wasn't able to see how it was going to work out, so.
Yes. So those perfectionists out there who feel like they want to map out their life for the next 5 years. Yeah, I've got goals. I've got goals for my business. And I'm going to attempt to say, this is the way we're going to do it. But life doesn't work out that way. Like, neither does your business. You need to be strategic, yes, but you have to be flexible, be willing to pivot, and also invest in yourself in ways that you need. So for those listening, she's talking about Rachel Rodgers, and who's another amazing Black woman who is out there helping and supporting other business owners to achieve their goals and reach $1 million. And, you invested in a course, and you got the help and assistance that you needed in order to invest in that. And every entrepreneur that is successful, we are investing in ourselves.
That's 100% true.
Nonstop. Now, a little bit too much. Sometimes y'all be doing a little bit too much. Right? Like, you don't have to buy every single $29 offer that's out there. Okay, this was me.
Right. Me too.
Like, just stop.
Yeah, sometimes it can be listen, I used to have a budget line in my to have a line item budget in my budget for these little tripwire offers because that's how much I used to pay.
Man, they just be getting you. Like, just $17 more. I'm like, damn, right. This is 17.
17, okay.
And that stuff be eating you up.
Listen.
Now. Okay.
Hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Yes, you do, but you have to be strategic. At some point you have to be strategic, because then you'll find that you're throwing a bunch of darts everywhere and it's not landing on anything. And then you're not moving the needle towards your business. So investment is important, and you were strategic, right? In that investment. And that's an investment too in any of Rachel's programs or any of these amazing people that are out there. You have to be selective on who you choose, by the way, but that's a whole nother episode. But it's premium. So you're going to be invested. So you got to be strategic. You got to be really sure about what your needs are for yourself, for your business, and ultimately where you want to go. Have some direction.
Yeah.
Smidge,
Definitely. I mean, I think I was at the time, when I first started out in online business, being a virtual assistant, which was ridiculous considering I was like managing dealing with a full-time job, dealing with the spouse, dealing with, all the different things that go on in just, regular life. And I was literally like throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying to figure out how to get this to all work. And then I, personal, I had circumstances. I had to take like a year and a half off almost from doing business because I just couldn't handle it anymore. I just didn't have the time, didn't have the energy. And I was dealing with, a divorce and all that stuff. And so, but when I came back and did this business, I felt like everything just clicked. I just felt like I knew immediately going into it what I wanted it to be, where I wanted it to go. And I only know that now because I had that previous experience, those experiences in business, starting out small. Now I can distinguish between what's a good, what's a tripwire I probably should buy and what's one that I can kind of pass up,
Amen.
Versus before I would have just been like, oh man, I wish I could afford this, and now it's like, I know specifically what my goal is, where I'm at, where I'm going. But it's, it's not a straight, line up, it's a little bit of a meandering road sometimes.
It's true.
It's just not always picture perfect. So
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if you remember, I don't know why this song just came up in my head, but ease on down the
Yeah.
road. Now,
Yeah.
when they were going down that road, right, through the whiz, they were kind of like zigzagging, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is exactly what popped in my head while you were talking.
Yes.
I was like, ease on down, ease on
That's
down.
exactly it. It's like you're taking the steps you know you need to take, but it's gonna be a little bit of a windy road. That's okay.
Yes,
You
yeah. And you know
know?
what? You dropped a huge gem. And that's why I'm so happy we're diving into your journey a little bit more, because you just said that you took off a year and a half. And most
Mhm.
business owners think like, I can't pivot. I can't change. I have to do it this way because of X, Y, and Z. And when we pause, even if it's a week or two, right? Or taking some days off when you feel like you're at your wits' end and you don't know what it is that you need to do next. Taking time off
Yeah.
brings you clarity.
Oh, 100%. Like I literally, I just came back. I was laser focused,
Yes.
and I felt that, oh, I want to join this program. I want to join that other program, but I'm like, wait a minute, now that's not what we want here.
Yeah,
The whole
yeah.
point of this is to achieve this one goal. That's it.
Yep.
And that's primarily, I can say that because I'm not trying to leave my job, right? So, for someone who's trying to leave their job, you can push harder and go longer and further faster, but definitely
Right.
taking time off was key for me to come back just feeling like that clarity that you talked about.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So listeners, I hope you're writing these down, okay? Because that was a jam-packed gem session right there. And it just really, one of the things that I just feel like I'm going to be screaming to the mountaintops in 2021 is the fact that you determine what success looks like for you. You determine where your business should go. You determine the next strategy, the next step. And we have to get out of this cookie cutter approach of looking at business. Because
100%.
so many of us try to put ourselves in the mold of some influencer or some business person that we admire, that we, are inspired by, and we want to get to that level of success. We think that way. And then we wind up being totally unhappy and almost crushing our souls in the midst of that, where we don't realize that when we honor who we are in the process of us building our business, that leads to true professional freedom.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, fitting, it's like, I think, I followed Rachel Rodgers for a long time and I still follow her. But I think as I've kind of matured as an entrepreneur, I recognize that the world needs Rachel Rodgers, people like Rachel Rodgers, and the world needs people like Adrienne Johnson. Mm-hmm. And that, it's okay for me to not be busting down walls every day. It's okay for me to just live in contentment and be comfortable. Yeah. Now, there's always going to be a moment where we need to, show people what's what. You know what I mean? Like,
flex on them.
Okay. Sometimes you just got to flex on them. Okay. And for that, there's always going to be that time. But, I have tried to take off the burden for myself to feel like, okay, I have to show everybody, like, you can't tell me no. Like, I feel so strongly. Like, I went through a long period where I was like, oh, let me buy a house. I want to buy a house because I just want people to just try to tell me no. I just want them to dare to try to tell me no.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I just wanted people to not realize, oh, this woman's out here making some money, and I just wanted to prove myself to them. Yes. And I think, that's a heavy weight. And at least it was for me. And I felt like, you know what? It's okay. I don't have to prove myself today.
Yeah.
Maybe there will be a time for that. But I don't have to prove myself today.
Yes.
And, at the end of the road, you have people who are pioneers who kind of help everyone else behind them, take that road. But I think sometimes it's a little bit of a burden, especially I'm speaking for myself as a Black woman. Sometimes I feel the burden to take on all this stuff. And I think it's a little hard for me. It's a little stressful, so I'm trying to get to the place where I can be comfortable and be happy. But also give myself permission to be happy and not be a, super fighter every single day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard because we see what's going on with social media. We see what's going on, in the world. But I find that I'm going to try to live my happy and just, give myself permission to not be an activist today. You know what I mean? But that's my whole, that's where I'm at right now.
I feel like it's a multi-layered, pressure for us as Black women, for me, I'm breaking, generational curses.
Oh, listen.
I mean, it's deep. And I never get a chance. I honestly really don't. My mind never rests. Right. I'm naturally like that. But you're right. There has to be some measure of accountability to ourselves to say, okay, if I know I can't be all things to everyone, like, why am I still choosing to do X, Y, and Z? That's pulling me in this direction and taking everything out of me. We still have a civic duty and responsibility, because no matter what we do as an entrepreneur, you're still an influencer, in my opinion, a leader.
Yeah, definitely.
So I find that interesting that you mentioned that.
It's just a little, that's the vibe I've been on lately. You know what I mean? I definitely can get very anxious about things, especially, at the time of this recording, like the current political climate and everything. And so it stresses me out. And I live in Indiana, where it's a, deep red, state. And, so I'm stressed out. I'm stressed out by, racism and perceived racism and all of that. So I'm trying to find a balance where I can be happy, where I am, and also still affect change. But part of my being happy has been like, okay, you can take off the cape or take off the mantle, today. And just try to enjoy enjoy life today. At least that's what I've been on, you know what I mean? But I still absolutely very much respect, support financially, people who are out there, getting it done, for the good of everyone. So I think that's also very important too.
Yeah. For me, I'm a mom. I have 2 kids, and I have to choose where I'm going to make my stand. So like, whether it's where I spend my money, whether it's like a course that I put on, if I'm speaking about specifically diversity, not holding back, those are the ways in which I've had to decide, like, how am I going to show up? How am I going to continue to promote anti-racism? How am I, going to still honor the sacrifices even my own family has made?
Absolutely.
It's a tough decision, because it's a tough decision, but it's doable. You got to figure out what works best for your circumstances and not feel shame if you can't do all the things.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's what I'm trying to get at for sure. It's just the shame and the guilt, like I'm sure, my parents and grandparents and their grandparents, and, have been through a lot just to get me here, and I think, especially as Black women, we feel that weight, and I'm trying to, get through some of that and just try to be like, what would my, would my ancestors, would my grandmother, want me to keep pushing, or would she want me to rest?
Yes,
would she want me? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think sometimes it's like, it's not always a clear answer. There's not always a clear answer, but I think asking the question is what's most important, right? So, it's not a straight, black and white issue, but it's no pun intended, but it's a question that I think we should ask, and it's
a humanity question. It's like, what is going to be my contribution to the community?
Absolutely.
As a whole.
Absolutely.
to better it? If we all asked that question, it would make a difference.
Definitely. Big time. And where I can help right now is financial support, and supporting candidates and supporting people that, who are doing the work that I believe in, supporting the arts, locally, all those different things make a difference.
Yeah.
So, at least that's kind of where I am right now. So I'm, trying not to drive myself crazy. Trying not to, but we'll see how it goes.
Oh, well, it's never a guarantee, right? But then we fall off and then we get back together. Together.
Everyone has
I am
moment.
no way perfect. Okay, honey? All right. So let's get into course creation here and course writing. So as an educator, I've had to go through, especially when I did my master's degree, educational methodology, learning how to teach, adult learners and all of that jazz. Most people don't have that background when they're starting their courses. Okay. They don't even know how to write a clear objective and really express like where someone is, how they're going to take them from A to Z. Like there's a journey that all of our students go through, whether you're an entrepreneur or in education. So let's talk about some of the common mistakes people make. Let's just do 3, because I'm sure you can go on and on. But what are you finding that are the common mistakes that entrepreneurs are making when it comes to their course creation?
I think the first thing that I kind of see most often is people who are like, I'm just gonna like slap a course together. I'm just gonna like record these videos, and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna like record 1 hour long. I'm gonna record 6 like 1 hour long videos, that type of thing. And it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is like, that people see courses, and I'm saying that to get to the core of it, which is like people see courses as like a cash injection. And that's I think, at least that's how I've been seeing people kind of pushing it, is like they see it as like a cash injection where it's like, oh, I need to make some money real quick. Let me just put together something so I can create a course. And I think, there's a lot that goes into creating a good course. That's why I try to like make the distinction between just creating a course, which there are several people out there right now teaching people how to create courses. But how do you create a good course? A course that's not only just going to sell, but is going to help you build your reputation, right? Because when people buy it and they don't like it or whatever, we in this online industry, you just had a tendency to blame them. Oh, you just didn't like put much effort into the course. Well, maybe, but maybe it's more the course isn't set up the way it needs to be. Maybe there aren't clear learning objectives. Maybe there's a promise made in the marketing that doesn't come through in the course. There's all these different aspects to, like you said, adult learning. And we have to kind of separate marketing of the course from the actual creation of a good course. And right now people are just marketing courses. They're not actually focusing on creating good courses, at least in my opinion. So, that's,
and we respect your opinion. We want it. We want it all. Okay.
I call them like I see them.
Yeah. So, as I'm thinking like, because you hear a lot about like minimum viable product.
Yep.
And, like you just said, I mean, I can't think of a better word. Slap them together. And just sell it. Yeah, that is the push. And I think, the push may be because it is overwhelming to think about it when you create a course.
Yeah.
And people are treating it as a cash injection. It could be, depending on like what your community and followers are like. But I find that interesting that you mentioned like that. Okay. So
that was like 3 in 1, I guess.
That was like 3 in 1. I'm like, did she do 3?
And I want to just quickly like clarify, like I'm not trying to vilify anyone who has had to do that. Let me just very clearly say that I'm not trying to paint anyone who does that as the enemy. Okay. Like I'm just trying to say there is a better way. Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, because if I look at like where I was when I first started my business and I put things together, I mean, my lighting was terrible. I just, you did what you could, right?
You did what you had to do.
Yes. But at some point, as you're leveling up and you're scaling your business, because I help clients who are scaling their business, you have to show up differently. You have to really show up differently.
Thank you for saying that. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at, is that we're talking about, this is something that we all talk about in the course world is like, oh, sales, this course made, 6 figures or, however many, and you have the big names out there who are, selling that concept. And I think first of all, let me just say I don't have any of their products, so I don't know what's in there.
Yeah.
But I will say that when it comes down to it, I don't think a lot of people are taking courses very seriously. And it's not necessarily, we think about the marketing, we don't think about like the educational aspect. And I don't mean educational like informational, I just mean like the educational as in how are you organizing and structuring your content so that it actually, reaches the learner, right? So that's it's produced and made in a way that's going to help people actually learn. And that's what I think a lot of people are missing. So, but I don't want to vilify people who have had to do this. I'm just trying to say there's a better way.
Yeah. There's always a better way. I'm learning it now. I'm trying to slow down.
That's all right. There's no judge. You're not going to get any judgment from me.
I ain't worried about you, Adrienne.
Whatever.
No, not one bit. I'm like, all right, I'll take this note. I will do this when I can.
Exactly. And that's all I'm asking people to do. You know what I'm saying? You understand your own capacity. Okay.
Exactly. And I'm also at a different level maturity wise as a business owner. I know like I have to be really strategic or, okay, this is my next step, but I know like either I need to use a team member or I need to invest in the services that you offer to really get a global view of the process for my customers because you want people to come back.
And that's the thing, right? People don't talk about completion rates.
Yeah.
People don't talk about, they might have like we all have star students or star clients or whatever who are going to sing our praises. There's nothing wrong with that. But the real question is like, how good? Ask the person who wanted the refund, what they thought about the course. See if you can try to get a real answer from them. That stuff matters. And I think you see, the Jenna Kutchers or whomever put out these courses and it's like, is this really that good? Or is it just the marketing machine behind it? No shade to Jenna. I'm just using her as an example. But
I can't wait till we get off this call. I'm about to tell you who that applies to, who that came up in my head. Okay. I already know.
Spill the tea now.
I'm going to spill it when we're not recording. Okay.
That sounds good to me.
But yeah. Wow.
And marketing is important, obviously. Marketing is important. But I also think that you don't want to have this big, mountain of a business. And at the bottom of the mountain, people are like, oh, it's not that great. It's not that great. It's not that great. And so, there's only so much of that you can control, right? You can't control every single person who's upset about the price or whatever. But I think we need to think about if we're marketing it this way, does the course actually live up to that? And I think that's one of the keys that people are kind of, they're not able to evaluate it. How do you evaluate that? How do you evaluate the expectations versus the delivery? So that's where I'm at right now.
Yes. So good. Okay. So like, what are some, I would say you can do 3 or 3 in 1 because Adrienne's going to do it Adrienne's way.
I appreciate that you know that about me.
I'm just teasing you.
No, you're totally good. I'm fine with it.
No, but just give us like 3 practical things entrepreneurs can do right now to kind of evaluate their course and to really check in on themselves based on what you've just explained.
Well, here's one thing. I'm going to try to say these 3 outright so that I don't go down a deep hole and start talking about different things.
Okay.
First of all, like, do you have like a proper system set up to support your course? And I mean, like, do you have someone handling customer service? Is everything smooth when it comes to not only delivering the course, but people getting access to the different assets. Is it smooth? Do you have a support system? So that's all, in one. And that's more about the actual, like, taking care of your customers, aspect of it. The second thing I would say is think about having surveys in your courses, like as you go through. So like after module 1, hey, what was the most beneficial part of this module? What was the least beneficial part of this module? Some of the best, adult educators, they ask questions and they get responses. They need data to determine whether or not this is even relevant to that person. Ideally, you would know that information beforehand, but you always want to evaluate it on the back end just in case. If you're getting a lot of refund requests or something, it could be indicative of a marketing issue or a Facebook ads issue, or you're not targeting the right person or whatever. But the only way you know that is if you ask. So don't be afraid to ask. Try to buck up a little bit and allow people to kind of shit on your course a little bit. It's not fun. It doesn't feel good. But I promise you, it will help you, create and sell your course better in the long run. So, the third thing I would say, which is kind of maybe a little counterintuitive, is don't think the number one thing that people come to me when they say, like, their biggest question about courses is how to not be overwhelmed with creating it. That's the number one question that I get is how to not be overwhelmed, right? With all this knowledge and all this information. And I would say the first thing to kind of like one of many things you could do to kind of quell that overwhelm is to have the proper expectations set in place for yourself and for the course. You can only have the proper expectations when you know what you can handle, but also don't expect perfection. I think people go into it, they want to create their signature course. And it's like, okay, I get that you want to create your signature course, but is this a one and done thing for you? Are you open to looking at it every 6 months or every 3 months and saying, okay, what's going on with this? Right? We're thinking about only the marketing aspect, not the actual course itself. And so if you can think about your course more holistically and think of it as an iterative process, something that you kind of update and change as you go along versus something that has to be done and is final and, and it has to be perfect. If you can think about it, in a, this is alpha, this is beta, this is gold, if you can think about it from that perspective, then I think that kind of reduces the temperature, to kind of get it completely right the first time. Cause I think that's the most important thing to get started is that, okay, have proper expectations, in order to actually start creating it, and not be overwhelmed. But I could talk about overwhelm all day, but those are the top, 3 things that I think would hopefully be helpful to people.
Oh, so helpful. So helpful. In fact, I was just having a conversation with another entrepreneur. We're considering partnering together. We were talking about surveys and getting feedback. And a lot of us, and I have to admit, like I would do it after a course, like a 1-hour course or something that nature, because it was required to take surveys for continuing education for licensure. But I have to admit that even for like some of my entrepreneur based ones, I didn't always follow through with the survey because I felt like, it's not necessary. This is one last thing I don't want to have to collect data on right now. And I can see now, even with me, as I'm building out right now, my courses at the time of this recording are beta, but I'm doing my first launch of them in January of 2021. And this, of course, this recording will come after 2021. So I'll tell you guys later on what that's like. But I'm thinking, I got to get some feedback right now before I do this launch.
And that's okay. Like literally I've had people who are like, who want to work with me and they're like, okay, I want to do this, but how important is getting feedback on my beta launch first? And I said, get feedback, before you work with me. If you have the capacity to get feedback, because that's the only way you're going to have, before you drop this money, you need to figure out what direction you're going in. And I think it's super important to it's another thing, right? That's why I kind of like, and am in favor of people having some sort of support system for this course, right? Because when you think about like the ways that you really want to make good money at it, right? You can make a quick cash injection, sure, but is this going to be a long-term asset, or is it going to be something that we're just going to forget about next year? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's your business, not you, personally. I understand you, Jasmin. You're not thinking that way, but like, it's your business. You can do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about people love to include courses in this idea of like passive income. And I'm here to tell the people.
Tell them.
It is not passive. Okay. It's only passive for people who like hire agencies or whomever to support that. Okay.
Yeah.
But, with ads, with customer support, with updating it, with iterating it, making sure everybody's good to go. Like it's not a passive thing as much as we would love it to be.
Yeah.
I don't, and maybe, there's no, rules that say that you have to offer a Facebook group or that you have to offer a certain amount of support or whatever. So, if you're going to offer that kind of support, don't expect it to be passive. But if you're just going to sell it and just, let it live on its own, maybe it will be passive for you. But for most people, we're thinking about, okay, people are going to have questions. How am I going to support them? It's not going to be passive, boo. It's just not. Sorry.
I love your philosophy. Oh, you're so passionate about it. And I love that. I mean, it makes sense. I'm like, my mind is literally blown.
Well, listen.
Wow.
I feel like, I'm not an Amy Porterfield or Jenna Kutcher or whomever.
Oh, you're Adrienne Johnson, boo.
I'm Adrienne Johnson. I'm just gonna be me. Okay. I'm just gonna be me. But I want us, as online people to figure out, just get some little bit of reality, right? We've all been sold a little bit of this idea, which is perfectly fine. And it works for some people. Okay. So I'm not trying to say that it doesn't fully work. I'm just saying we have to be a little bit more considerate, right? The people who are purchasing now, the consumers now, we are more discerning than the online consumer was 10, 15 years ago.
Ooh, that's so true.
So it's like the same stuff ain't gonna work. So you need to, it's not even just about that. It's a little bit about ethics too, but I don't want to like harp on that too much. But
yeah,
we have to be better, more responsible online entrepreneurs, I think. And I think courses are a big part of that. So that's just my, my idea.
Absolutely.
And, I'm always open to people asking questions and, getting help and support any way they can. So
yes.
Holler.
Oh, yes. I love it. All right. So Adrienne, this is my last question to you. Tell me what piece of advice you would give yourself when you first started your business.
Oh my gosh. Keep going. That would be my piece of advice. Bitch, you want to roll. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah,
like you're on a roll. You have an idea. It's sparking. Keep going. Keep rolling. Keep flowing with that same concept.
Yes.
I had a very clear idea in my head what I thought it was going to be. And, it didn't turn out to be exactly that way, but it is literally, and people say this all the time, but it's so much better than that. And I'm glad that I took, the risk and took the leap when I did. So, I'm grateful to that Adrienne of 5 years ago or 3 years ago, or whatever. And that's the advice I'd give.
Yes. Okay. Please let the listeners know where they can contact you, a little bit about your services and what you do.
Sure thing. So you can find me online at adriennejohnson.co. That's ADRIENNE Johnson.co. And also my Facebook group, which is the Springboard Society. If you want to look it up on Facebook, You can also get directed straight to it at Get Your Effin' Course Done. That's EFFIN, getyoureffingcoursedone.com/group. So that's where you can hit me. I'm actually working on my own course now, if you can believe it.
Wow.
I know. Surprise.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so I'm planning on launching that first quarter 2021, which,
okay.
So definitely, check that out, but you'll get all the info from my list or from my group.
All right. Awesome. Well, it's been such a pleasure having you. Thank you so much, Adrienne, for coming on the show today.
This has been great. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Dive in deeper by visiting the show notes for this episode or listening to more episodes on jasminhaley.com. If you found value in the show, share with a friend or leave us a review. I'll see you next time.